Hello, my name is Genesis Baez, and I'm your host for this episode of College and Career Readiness Podcast. Today we are joined by our special guest, City Councilwoman Angelique Ashby. Before we start our interview, remember to take control of your future, join the California Army National Guard, and serve your community during local and state emergencies. You'll learn marketable skills, earn a paycheck, and get money for school. Contact Sergeant Aquino today at 916-233-7615. Hi, Angelique Ashby. Could you tell me a little bit about your career?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so happy to be on the campus of Inderkum visiting with you all. Let's see, my career. I am currently the councilwoman for District 1 in the city of Sacramento. I am the only female on the Sacramento City Council, which is sad. There are 8 council members and 1 mayor, so the council's 9 people, and we represent 500,000 people for the whole city.
Since you just said that you're the only woman on the city council, what is it like to be a woman?
Well, I don't know. Maybe some of you who are listening have been in a situation in your life where you're the only person in the room that's like you, whether that's because you're the only kid, or you're the only boy, or the only girl, or you're the only person of your ethnicity. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to be an only in the room. It can feel like a lot of responsibility, I think, for women especially, because there's a lack of leadership of women in the country, meaning not a lot of women are elected to office. I think there should be more. Sometimes what that can feel like is that in addition to being the only woman, you're supposed to somehow be every woman. And I don't have every experience. There's a lot of things I'm not. I'm not young like you. I'm not old. I'm just in the middle. I'm not single. I have 3 kids. I don't really know what it's like to not have kids. I've had kids almost my whole adult life. And so I think there's a lot of experiences that aren't represented when you don't have enough diversity on an elected body. So I try really hard to open myself up and create a space for people who aren't currently represented on that board to explain to me how they would like to see things happen in our city, and I try really hard to advocate for those things.
What has been your proudest achievement while being on the city council?
That's a really tough question. I'm proud of so many things, but probably the thing I'm the most proud of is something I know you're going to ask me about anyway, and that is the youth program. When I first ran for office back in 2010, which, let's see, this is 2019, so you guys were, like 10 years old at best, maybe younger, huh? Well, when I ran in 2010, there were some kids here at Inderkum that wanted to work on my campaign, about 10 of them. And I thought that would be fun. So they joined me. And I think I learned more from them than they learned from me. And the next year when I won, I decided to make it official and start a youth action corps. Basically a committee of young people who would tell me what life is like in our area as a kid. What's missing, what's fun, what's working, what's not working. And I could hear them and be able to advocate for them. That program grew and grew and grew. And now there's 800 kids in it as we talk right now. And by the end of this school year, just like last year, there will be over 1,000. Andre Favila is the coordinator for my office, and he hosts lots of informational sessions for folks to join, to do orientations. And then once you're in it, you get to be a part of everything happening in Natomas, whether it's fun stuff like Santa on a fire truck driving around with the firefighters and the police officers, or planting trees to help our environment, or joining me in a women's march or the Martin Luther King march, or whatever advocacy thing you want to do, but it creates opportunity for young people to be engaged.
That's awesome. Did your high school experience influence your decision to pursue this career at all?
It probably did. It's hard when you're older to look back and try to remember which things really impacted my direction. I never set out to be an elected official. That wasn't like a goal. I didn't go to college thinking, I want to run for office. It sort of fell in my lap. I went to Sac High. That's the high school I graduated from, and not the Sac High that you all know that's a charter school. Before it was a charter school, it was a public high school, and it really struggled a lot. And that's when I went there, and it was challenging. But one thing I learned going to that school was what it's like for a lot of people who are living in a really tough neighborhood and trying to get a better education for themselves and trying to lift themselves up out of poverty, trying to go to a good college or get a good technical career. And And I think that has influenced me. I think it's why I like to invest so much in youth, particularly teenagers. I think high school is a really important time in a person's life. If you come out of high school and you don't have straight A's, that's not the end of the world. I didn't either. I went to junior college. I went to American River. And then I transferred to UC Davis. And by the way, when I was 20 years old, I had a baby. So I was a young single mom, and I was really poor. And I learned how to use food stamps and all of that. But I never gave up on that education. And so after AR, I transferred to UC Davis, and I graduated from there. And after UC Davis, I went to McGeorge Law School. I was still a single mom, and I worked really hard during the day, and I went to school at night. And so if I could do that, so too could you guys. Doesn't really matter where you start. It just matters where you finish. You just have to keep going and keep trying.
So how would you say these past struggles influence where you are now?
I would say that I have a lot more patience because I know how hard you have to fight to get things. I don't expect anything to come my way easily. That's probably because of how I got to where I am now, right? Nothing has been super easy for me, and I don't expect it to be. I sort of come from a generation much earlier than yours called Generation X, and we were sort of known for being latchkey kids, which meant we were the first generation to go home to an empty house, meaning there wasn't a stay-at-home parent. You had to have a key to your home, and you had to figure out how to make your own snacks and do your own homework and get yourself ready on your own, right? And I think because I've been doing that my whole life, I'm pretty confident in my own abilities to take care of myself, and I think that extends to my abilities to feel confident in helping take care of others. I also think being a really good listener is important when you're an elected official. Not just kids, but adults want to be heard, and they want to know that their elected representative understands what they're trying to achieve and what their hopes and goals are too. And to the best of my ability, trying to take all of that information that everybody gives me and come up with a pathway forward for a whole city is really an exciting job and something I love doing.
Okay, and final question. What advice would you give to those that would like to run for office in the future? What advice would you give them?
Well, for young people right now, I think getting involved with somebody that you believe in is a great idea. Also, I want to tell you guys now that what's happening in the country right now with this presidential election and it's not normal. It's not usually like this. In my life, and I'm lots older than you, so you'll just have to trust me, it's never been like this. And there have been Republican presidents and Democrat presidents, lots of them in my lifetime, but it's never been this divided where people talked about each other, said negative things, and they were so mean, and it just felt so negative. So my hope is that we get out of this and that the next phase of leadership at the highest level in our country is kinder and more unifying and creates a space so that we all feel like we get to be a part of what's happening and doesn't feel divided. And I would just suggest to you all to keep your chins up, to stay involved, to stay really positive, to work on campaigns, to pay attention, to do the research. Don't believe something just because you heard it in one report or read it in one outlet. You got to do your own research and talk to people and ask questions and reach out and be involved. The whole world's counting on your generation. I know you guys can do it. It's the smartest generation yet. You can do it. We're counting on you.
Well, thank you so much for participating in our interview today.
Thank you for having me. Very proud of this school and all of the students here. You guys are doing amazing things, and I am just honored to be your elected representative to the city of Sacramento.
Thank you so much.